I think a really good example of someone who's an OG who is playing the game right now is Mike Tyson. So Tyson has an upcoming fight in about a month.
There's an intrinsic interest in Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is a complex individual. And when he opens his mouth, it doesn't matter what, I don't know what he's going to say, so I listen. Hey Zouk family, welcome back. My favorite segment of the week, talking to Ronn Nicolli, Creative Conversations, and this week is a very special guest, a very good friend of mine, someone that I worked with for several years, but is now making moves in Los Angeles, not very far from Ronn at all. He's the head of talent, business, and legal affairs for Gushcloud. He is discovering talent on the digital space, which is obviously something that's hugely prevalent right now with COVID lockdown, everyone moving online. He's also helping OG celebrities move into the digital space, which must be intimidating. I know how hard it is for me to get my dad to answer a WhatsApp voice call, get celebrities online, but also, which is super fascinating, he's helping US and European-based talent enter China to get on the native Chinese social media platforms, which is obviously a hot topic in the news right now. But
Absolutely.
First and foremost, most importantly of all, Jared Kong, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Joe. Thanks so much for having me, and it's really good to reconnect. And yeah, no, thank you again for reaching out and asking me to be a part of this. It's always a pleasure to speak to colleagues that from past that I'm so fond of, and just really nice to catch up, and thank you for having me on, and it's great to meet you as well, Ron.
Great to meet you. Thank you again for jumping on with us.
So Jared, to get the ball rolling, why don't you give us a better overview than I could on what you're doing now? And I'm sure there's connections with Ronn's done in the past, because I'm sure you've got some contacts and some style of work that probably crosses into both courts.
Absolutely. I think maybe what would be sort of a good start would be just to give an overview of what Gushcloud does and a little bit of introduction to the company that I joined after leaving Zouk. So Gushcloud really started it's a Singaporean company that was founded about a decade ago, and that really made its first waves in the influencer marketing space. So traditionally connecting brands to influencers and vice versa at the height of social media about 10 years ago. So Singaporean founded, Singaporean owned, and in the last 10 years, we've been expanding across the region. We have offices all across Southeast Asia, Korea, China, Japan, and North Asia. In the last year, we've made more inroads into the US and sinking our roots here a little bit more in LA and in Hollywood, and opening up an office in Australia this year. So the core premise and core, I guess, impetus of what we're doing on the digital space revolves around digital talent, and digital talent being your social media influencers as we know them back in Asia, as well as your content creators and your YouTubers and long form content creators as we know them here in the US. And in essence, we really look at, and the company's ethos has always been about how do we build a sustainable ecosystem and economy for kids and for talent coming out into the digital space now and going, I want to be a content creator, I want to be a YouTuber. What does that even mean? How do you build a sustainable livelihood, creating content and being influential on the digital space? So that's always been like a core sort of mission and value that the company has always espoused, and a strong ethos that grounds our work. But another aspect about what we do here in the US and cross-culturally that's been important is really building bridges. And I'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about the stuff that we're doing for China. But really, we're really looking at building cultural bridges and connecting the world, through entertainment and through social media content and social media content creators. And that is a mission that has kind of more recently been embedded in the company's consciousness because we have Russell Simmons, who took a strategic investment in us and sits as the president of our operations, and it's always been his mission. I mean, even from the days when he was when he founded Def Jam Recordings and was running it and discovered all these talents who are and big names who we know today. It's always been his mission to really connect the world and connect cultures through entertainment. So that kind of segs into what I do here in the US and what our work here really involves. On the talent management and channel management side of things, we have GC Studios, which is the studios and the management arm that I head up here in the US. And so we do channel management, we do all the post-production, editing, production of content for some of the talents that we work with, specifically within the comedic realm, the lifestyle, vlogging, and Gen Z millennial sort of categories. And then in recent times, because of COVID, in the last 4 or 5 months, we've been pivoting a little bit more towards producing a lot more live stream content. Because we've got clients, we've got brands and foundations, etc., that are looking to kind of take advantage of the fact that everybody's online now, but also because we're working around huge production constraints and the inability to have live events, as you guys would know, having live venues open, etc. So we've been creating a lot of virtual events and live stream content for some of our clients and some of our talents. And then on the other side of the equation, we have our agency, Gushcloud Talent Agency, which ultimately looks at traditional like brokering of branded content, brand deals, endorsement deals for some of the talent that we represent on the digital space across family, beauty, lifestyle, and wellness. So that kind of encompasses and sort of gives a broad brush summary as to what we're doing here in the US, what Gushcloud's operations and focus is in the US market, but looking at it from the perspective of really connecting the world and connecting Asia to talent that's based here, and to help talent that's based here navigate and find opportunities in Asia.
That's fascinating, Joe. And I think this is something where I draft in Ronn into this. Is Ronn, you're basically now a huge content creator and storyteller for brands. Have you seen a huge movement, Ronn, over the last, let's say, 15 years of the growth of influencers appearing out of nowhere, and now the fact that everything is online, everything is Instagrammable, now TikTok, so on and so forth? How has that changed in the way that you market things now?
Well, I would say, it really hit a position even a few years ago where all of a sudden in Vegas, when we're all having this competitive talent battle, all of a sudden the conversation is, well, let's do so-and-so's birthday party. And we're not saying a celebrity in a sense, we're saying a digital celebrity in a sense of it's the girl from Instagram who's an influencer and it's her 21st birthday. And let's get Summer Rae out here for her birthday party. And that became a layer now. It became a layer that I would say that when you look at like the millennial and more of the Gen Zs and stuff, they're like movie stars in a sense, they're even, especially now with like TikTok, like, it's like funny, we're sitting in strategy meetings and you look at some of the following and engagement and the things that are going on with Instagram and TikTok. And it's like, these people have such a draw now. 15 years ago in Vegas, the model was pretty simple. You booked a celebrity, right? And Paris Hilton would come in and be at the old Pure nightclub, and she'd sit there at her table. And as she walked in, there would be some sort of procession to it, and she would wave, and then she would just drink the rest of the night. And you had people who had packed the house to get that call it 40 seconds to 1 minute of visibility. And now where that gets expanded is, I'm this TikTok star, or I'm this Instagram influencer, the social influencer. I come to the club. Well, guess what? She's posting that content. I'm at that. So now there's more of a digital connection where I'm the fan, and now I'm sharing her sharing, and now I'm resharing what she's sharing. And now I'm making sure that my friends understand through identification that I'm at that same place. So it's really amplified now. And again, it's like sharing in groups, and it's feeling that at least from a digital perspective, you're included. So it's really become something meaningful. In the States, it's like huge now, and it's huge when you start seeing the secondary club markets picking up these events because talent in some stages have priced out from doing traditional talent. That's become the talent and draw. Absolutely.
And I think, Ronn, you hit it on the head when you said digital celebrities, because that's really, at the end of the day, what they are. The celebrity of today is someone who has a social media following, has numbers, and has a demographic, and has data and metrics to sort of support their level of celebrity, if that's a way to kind of like categorize it, right? And at the end of the day, that's for that reason why, I guess if you were to categorize your OG celebrities or your traditional celebrities, the ones that we grew up watching on film and TV and movies, all of them now kind of like looking on the digital space and looking at like, hey, I might have a large social media following because of my my fame and my celebrity and what I was doing before. If I was a musician, if I was an actor, if I was a star of a hit reality series or sitcom, but now I want to engage my audience online because I can't go into the studio anymore. I can't produce content in the way I traditionally thought I could, and that's why I think there is a big push, and we're seeing this, in the last 4 or 5 months with COVID, that a lot of your OG celebrities are looking at looking to folks like us to say like, hey, can you build me a YouTube channel? Can I start creating content from my own home that would still engage my audience and allow me to come out of this whole pandemic still with a retained audience and with an engaged audience, which would then, fuel whatever live stuff that, we can eventually get back to, hopefully sooner than later.
Let me ask you both a question. As a celebrity, it used to be about just your talent and your product, right?
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. Martin Lawrence, Bad Boys, would go in and do Big Mama's House, would do Bad Boys, etc. Is he relevant if he's not on a social media platform? Because it's like there's two fights, right? Why do I go and see a Leonardo DiCaprio film? Because I believe it'll be a good film because he's in it. But it's also, you need to do a collection of films in order to stay relevant. And the problem I find is that there's such a saturation of things online that how is it possible? Like, Jared, you say you get an OG celebrity coming up to you. Could be an old school rapper. It could be Rev Run, for instance, who comes up and says, right, I think I need to be on this game. How do you keep them relevant? How frequently do they need to be online?
Right.
And can they afford a private life and say, no, I want to shut this down. I don't want to leak too much of my life. Because nowadays I can see celebrities' homes, their cars, their watches, the whole world online, right? We have this case in the UK of celebrity footballers who post all this stuff online and they go and play an international match for the European Champions League in Italy and their house gets raided,
Right.
So,
how much do you put out? Yeah.
My first question is, can you remain relevant by not being online, or do you think it's a part of the world now where everyone really has to be? And number two, how do you manage that so that you don't give too much of your personality and your soul away?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's really, really good question, because I think to one extent, talent is still at the end of the day the most important thing. So like I wouldn't, and this is just me speaking personally, but I think an audience wouldn't gravitate towards watching someone if he or she didn't have an innate talent. So an innate talent is at the end of the day what it's all about, because you have to be talented. You have to be able to do something to a better degree than somebody else in order for someone to even watch you or to be entertained by you. If you're a sports person, you play better sport. I think a really good example of someone who's an OG who is playing the game right now is Mike Tyson. So Tyson has an upcoming fight in about a month. And it's a comeback fight. He's fighting Roy Jones Jr. He's all over social media, and you're talking about someone. He's a 53 or 54-year-old guy, sports icon, of course, legendary OG, but is willing to, I guess, play the game, and really come onto social media platforms that would be otherwise foreign and or unknown to him. But use that to
I would say that there's an intrinsic interest in Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is a complex individual, and when he opens his mouth, it doesn't matter what. I don't know what he's going to say, so I listen.
Fastest Wi-Fi backpaw. Let's see who fists are the fastest. Yours or mine?
Champagne Jones.
If you laugh, by then.
Or Fungole.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So Mike Tyson is the perfect candidate for digital space because he could do anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know who's a guy who has kind of surprised me in the digital space is the former baseball player Alex Rodriguez. You know, Alex Rodriguez was very standoffish with the press during a big portion of his career, especially with a lot of the performance enhancing allegations that went on. And then all of a sudden he retired and he kind of took a couple years away, then came back and was like a commentator. But like he essentially has changed, I would say, the perception of him in the States now, because he's on TikTok with his kids, with J-Lo, you know, and they're showing this other side of them.
Absolutely.
And it's weird because even when I'll go through and see A-Ron on TikTok and he's being super playful and he's being this guy that for a number of years in the States was just very introverted to the public eye. And now he's very front-facing, and it doesn't feel like it's forced or it was like a PR company told him he had to do it. He feels like he's really enjoying this kind of second act on life.
Right.
And it's fun when you see them kind of interacting like that, because again, I mean, let's be honest, like there's probably certain people who are watching Alex Rodriguez and probably have to Google that he was a baseball player, right? Because they're seeing him in this way, maybe being J-Lo's boyfriend or whatever's going on. But it's fun to see someone like that who is essentially almost rebuilding the public perception of him by using digital media.
For sure,
You know,
for sure.
and kind of a fun case study in a sense.
Yeah, and I think there are a couple of other really good case studies of I guess celebrities and actors and talent that have really embraced the social media game, I guess, if you want to describe it that way. I mean, Will Smith is a extremely good example. You know, when he came on Instagram, when he first downloaded Instagram on Ellen, and then thereafter he started his YouTube channel. Like the reason why Will Smith is still relevant today, you know, even though kids who know of him now today probably wouldn't know that he was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, you know, 20 years ago. But he's so relevant now because it's on one hand, it's embracing technology and keeping your hand on the pulse of what's happening. But at the end of the day, just involving and showing that authentic side of your life that you would otherwise not be able to show off camera in just like a press conference or like even a formal interview. You wouldn't get that level of authenticity, that level of you know, behind the scenes kind of like take of your life. And I think that's what social media does offer. But to what Joe was saying earlier, I mean, obviously at the end of the day, it's a question of how much do you want to show, you know, how much do you want to be able to you know, to let people in to see. And I think because social media is in that sense controlled by the creator, you can put out as much as you want, or you can, you know, not put out whatever you want, you know what I mean? So I think that's really where if done correctly, and I think there are, you know, brilliant case studies of folks who have been really embraced the social media game and found that delicate balance. It can be a really, really powerful way to, you know, inject a second life into your career, or, you know, bring your relevance back to, you know, the mainstream and open up a slew of opportunities thereafter.
Do you think, Jared, it's going to force us to move the entirely different way? You look at it, right? I will go to the cinema for a mega CGI blockbuster, but I'll watch 90% of my footage or my content on Netflix. I will catch my news on my mobile phone. I won't wait for a live stream on the television. Like if something news is breaking, we tend to hear about it from Facebook before we ever hear it from a news channel. Obviously, there's a whole different conversation about fake news and the fact that, you know, there was this slew. I remember there was this slew, even in my school times, of fake death reports. Yeah. Will Smith has passed away, and everyone goes, "Oh my God, Will Smith has passed away!" And then they would have to go to his representative to find out if it was true or not. So, do you think eventually the new form of celebrities? Now, you talk about talent. Talent is, in my head, sport. Movie is the obvious, right? Let's take out physical, practical talent like art and everything else that you physically have to do. But if you're talking about an interaction as Ron as a fan, me as a fan, you as a fan, and watching, we'll watch sport, we'll watch film and TV. That's the obvious ones, right? Do you think eventually anyone can now be a star? I give you a perfect example. Greta Thunberg was a political activist. for sure exploded thanks to social media. Now this young lady is like a household name, front cover of Time magazine. Would definitely, I don't believe, have happened had it not been for social media sharing her original speeches. Jen, a girl who does exercises, millions of followers, gets hundreds of thousands of likes every day. This would never have happened 10 years ago. It would have been like a Jane Fonda on your TV, on a Saturday morning TV show, doing a workout, and you would have got one person getting that opportunity on daytime TV. I mean, in my day in the UK, there was a guy called Mr. Motivator who used to wear spandex and do workouts, and we all knew who he was. But now there's like a trillion people you can share. So at what point, I mean, you know, do you remember, I remember Ashton Kutcher, I think for a long time had the most Instagram followers because he was the most prominent in the early days. Now he's probably knocked out the water by people like Cristiano Ronaldo with 100 million. So how do people break into this market, Jared, now that it's completely saturated?
Right. That's really interesting that you bring that up, because I think social media, the game itself is also evolving, and how it's evolving and where we see it evolving, at least, and then this is me speaking from someone who's, I guess, in the industry, is things are moving more towards live stream, but not just live stream for broadcast sake, but live commerce. So that's something that's really, really interesting. And that's something that the Chinese have picked up on, you know, for the last 2 to 3 years. And what live commerce is think of it as QVC 2.0, right? I'm selling you stuff. I'm actually going live. I'm live streaming. I'm picking up a mobile phone. I'm telling you all about its features. I'm you know, actually demonstrating stuff for you, and people are interacting with my content. It's informative. It's educational to an extent, because you find out more about a product. And then you have the ability to make a point of sale on that app at that moment. And the Chinese have embraced this. They have platforms that allow this. And I mean, 2 weeks ago, Amazon announced that they're slowly releasing the Amazon influencer program, which is, I think, a really important signal that, you know, America is kind of moving towards live stream commerce. But the Chinese have kind of embraced it for the last 2 years. And I give you an example of someone who's thinking of breaking into the social media game now. If I were Chinese and if I was in China right now, I wouldn't want to just be big on, like, you know, the Instagram, Facebooks and YouTubes of China, the equivalents. I want to do that so I build a loyal fan base. So at some point in time, hopefully sooner than later, I go, hey guys, I'm going to be a live stream entertainer. I'm going to be a live seller, right? I'm going to go on to Taobao Live, which is like the Amazon of China, and I'm going to live stream 2 hours of my day. And during that 2 hours, you'll be watching, you have a window into everything I'm doing, but I'll be selling you stuff. And I'm going to, and how I get paid, I get a percentage of all the product that I move per day. And that's why the biggest influencer in China is a guy who used to work in a cosmetic store, selling, you know, cosmetic palettes and lipsticks. And he moved 15,000 sticks of Saint Laurent lipstick in 5 minutes on the 11th of November last year.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you here, because you've just described as everything I hate about the world today. I went to.
That's a different. But that's the game. That's the game that's being played now. You know.
I went to Hong Kong, and my nephews showed me a video of unboxing.
Okay, right.
It's like a 4-year-old guy who's got like 200,000 followers, and he's unboxing a gift. And the onus is, and I'll talk to you. I know Jared personally. I feel I know Ronn personally. Two what I would call wholesome people, right? Two good family people who. That means to me everything I love. Don't make a mistake. I'm a salesman for a living, right? But
for sure,
that means there is very little wholesome content out there that's not pushing you to make a purchase, which takes away from you know, of course, there's cleverly made Netflix shows that are guiding you to follow a Republican route or follow a Democrat route, or to not trust Iran, or whatever the structure is, right? But there is no wholesome based content online. And from what I've got to understand about the millennial market, when we market Zouk, we market other content or products we have, we don't go down a hard sell route. Right. My parents' generation are, what is it? What's the deal? How do I buy it?
Right.
Your favorite whiskey, 2 bottles for $1. You can buy it for a limited time. My dad will buy it. He doesn't care.
Because it's a good deal. Yeah.
But when we're pushing Zouk, you do a cleverly crafted video with the CO2, the confetti, the flames, the beautiful dances. Someone's got, I got to go there, I got to go there. But you're not telling them $50 door entry. You're just selling a dream. And if they want to have that dream, they're 10. So there's two different. But the sad factor from what you've just said is, every time I pick up a phone, there's a chance that someone's trying to push me to purchase something.
Well, I think yes, but also to an extent, it presents an opportunity. It presents an opportunity to tell the story in the way that would best appeal to your target consumer, right? And so I feel like in this particular, it's not so much a hard sell, but it's like what's the experience you're creating in the person consuming your content, right? It's like people would follow this guy, the guy I mentioned who sells a ton of lipstick or whatever, because people have fallen in love with who he is and his story, right? And at the end of the day, it's the platforms are gonna just be always gonna be there. I mean, it's always gonna change in terms of like how you put out the content, but the why and the what, and it's still at the end of the day what is gonna move people to follow somebody or fall in love with that content and make that point of sale. So it's about how do we tell the story? Because I mean, platforms like YouTube, for example, at the end of the day, they were created for an educational purpose, right? You share information, you share knowledge, and you tell stories, right? So in the same way, it's kind of evolving still, but the core essence of it is still very much fundamental, which is how do I tell a story, but tell it live and engage my audience, and in the process sell you something.
Hey, so Ron, bringing you in, man, like I said, like for me, it's a personal opinion. I feel uncomfortable with content being driven in a fashion. Everything is trying to guide you one way. It's an opinion, right? We all have an opinion on everything. So where do you see the value? I mean, let's be honest. When you create content for Zouk in Vegas, when you create content for Resorts for Las Vegas, where is your mindset in the curation? You've done content, amazing content. Like I genuinely mean this, Jared. Some of the videos he's done in the past with David Guetta, with all of the big name acts, Nicky Romero, such as it's not, hey, this is a guy who's DJing, you need to spend money coming. It's like a huge movie style production. So Ron, when you're looking at these things, you just did an amazing video for Resorts World Las Vegas, which was the switching on of the lights on the strip, a huge American flag down the side, like powerful. Where does the storytelling go for you now?
Well, the thing is it really, at essence, look, we want to try to put something out there. I always use the word like humanizing, right? Mm-hmm. Because again, and that's what I think some of the best talented influencers and celebrities on social, they humanize again. And again, there's that pivotal position between privacy and how much we're getting a glimpse of their life. When we put content out, what my real goal is, and again, the weird thing is as much as we try to develop a story that's art, I always try to see if I can see it in my head. So as we're talking through it and we're building a treatment, if I can visually see it, my belief is that the mass public will be able to also see it, interpret it, and take it in. And again, it's a capture point, right? Like at the end of the day, I still want that to show revenue and conversion. I'm just trying to create a degree of separation in that, right? And a lot of times when we'll put out, so we used to do a really great job at the beginning of the year, putting out like a roster video, right? And it was just a collection, and it was essentially the anthem, right? This is everyone that's going to be here this year that you've got to come see. But a lot of times we wouldn't even connect a point of sale to that because we almost wanted to rest your mind. We wanted to influence you, but we also wanted to make you search a little bit, right? We wanted curiosity to say, hey, they did this. Did they do anything else? Well, let's go to the website or let's go to their social channels. And again, once you get there, now we're going to influence you with that point of sale. Or even when back in the days when we curated an entire vlog, we really tried to hide it. We wanted to create curiosity. We wanted to create capture points. We wanted to grab you. But then we wanted to convert you. At the end of the day, my goal is I want you to see something when you're at the office and you're bored and you're playing on your phone and you see that Resort World video. And then later on that night, you're laying in bed and you decide to watch it again. For some reason, something got you to watch it again. And then at that point, you're going down the rabbit hole. Now you're saying, oh, well, Vegas. Well, let me check out Vegas a little more. Let me go to the website. Now you've become an investigator. The curiosity has forced you subconsciously, consciously to investigate this product, to investigate this service. And now as we kind of bring you down that path, Now it's an opportunity through obviously digital marketing that we're going to create these other touch points and verticals. Now you've touched the website. Now you've touched our social. How now are we going to interact with you to now on top of the foundational set of it? Because again, we did something that interests you. We stimulated you to us. How do we reinforce that stimulation to now get you down the path of a conversion? And once we hit you with that conversion, how is our marketing messaging going to continue to keep you engaged, right? Because again, marketing at its essence is communication, right? I put something out, you enjoy it, you have a reaction, we now start a conversation, and now we can continue this conversation up until a point of extinction, or we can make sure there's never a point of extinction. But every time I put something out, I always try to say to myself, how do I get it in front of an audience that it's going to stimulate curiosity?
It's great. It's a great point, Ron, and I think that's why you have a gift for what you do is, and Jared, Ron every week has a great way of describing what looks like a complicated scenario, but making it palatable for people to understand. And I think the two most prevalent things that come out every week is touch points and storytelling, right? And I think that's the nice thing about what Ron's just described is, I love the way he described the touch of curiosity that brings you back, because what we hope is that either you'll share it or it will inspire you through a call of action to go to the website. Then from the website, you go and look at flights. And then if you're already considering how much is a flight to Vegas, can I get a cheap room? Maybe I'll go, boom, you're already there, right? You're already halfway there. And Jared, when you look at people like Cedric the Entertainer, right? And you look at stand-up comedy on an online basis, we've done it with live stream DJs. Now it's completely saturated, every bedroom DJ, which is a good thing. I think it's a good thing because new talent will be discovered. And it's a great shot window. It's no longer, hey, I don't know a guy who's a manager of a club and I don't want to do the first half hour, which was a rite of passage before, right? Where was your first DJ set? It was in a bar or a pub. And then you get the first half hour and there's one guy in the room, which might be the cleaner. Then you get an hour's set and then a few people come in and then you make a birthday party, blah, blah, blah. But now you can hit online and for us, it might be like Ron described as the birthday party scenario of, hey, it's Jen Belder's birthday, let's get in. And there might be some people from Middle America who go, hey, I want to go to Jen Belder's birthday party. Because why? Because I can be in the same room as Jen. Whereas if I'm on the other side of the world, how am I going to do that? I might never get that chance. Now we have like bedroom DJs who might have 1 million followers. And I'll give you an example, is ex-K-pop stars. An ex-K-pop star, we've done it ourselves at Zouk Live last year. We had a Korean DJ, very good technically, very good on the mic, killed it, great show, brought entertainment and DJ, and as a following. And now we don't just describe as David Guetta, great DJ. People go to Ibiza to watch him. People download his tracks. It's like, does someone have the pull to bring numbers to fill your venue? So in your scenario, how do you convert that to, is your end goal, Jared, when you put someone on YouTube to get them back eventually into a comedy club, bums on seats, or are you trying to revenue generate through YouTube itself?
Well, so both. So I think given the world that we're in right now, where live is unfortunately just on a complete standstill, and I mean, optimistically, we're hoping that things, start going back to normal and people start being more encouraged to go out and fill comedy clubs and venues again, hopefully in the first quarter of next year. But so the strategy of focusing on digital now is even more important because you're building the capacity for when things go back to normal and you're still engaging your audience, like I mentioned before. But for the talent that we find on the digital space that we want to sort of groom and manage and grow, we're looking upstream, right? So we're looking at building their repertoire, very much like a music artist, right? Like the record labels were famous for doing this, building up a producer or an artist repertoire, so that they can thereafter, get an opportunity that is more upstream. It could be a Netflix show, it could be a Hulu special, it could be being cast in a sitcom on a network. Those are the opportunities that we look to grow and to and build for our talent that we find on the digital space. With talent like Cedric the Entertainer who come from that world, it's really about how can their navigation onto social media bolster their opportunities outside of of the social media space. So how can it like supplement and complement whatever they're doing, already with their bigger scale productions, etc. So it's about finding like that middle ground and marrying the two in the middle, and that's really what GC Studios is really looking to do. Is how can we bring someone from the digital space and successfully convert them and bring them mainstream opportunities because they grew big on the digital space. And then for the celebrities, it's really like what I mentioned before. It's under your traditional talent. It's like how can they also pivot and be nimble and flexible and seek opportunity on the digital space, with them already bringing the fame and the fact that people know about them and that they're sort of OG celebrities. How can we get them opportunities on the digital space? So it's kind of an interesting sort of a challenge in that sense to sort of meet the two in the middle, and in the process we are going to see more collaborations with talent that are on the digital space and that are natively discovered there, with talent that are in your more traditional networks or platforms, and I think that marriage of the two will really bring about something special. But really for our comedians and for the comedians that we discover and that we look to sign, I mean, obviously you can't beat the live experience as well. And I think that's something that all of us on this call will be able to say, is that we've seen enough live stream DJ sets, we've seen enough stand-up comedy shows perhaps that were done over Zoom, and you just can't beat the live experience. And I think when all of this is over, that craving and the desire to want to have that live experience is really going to come back in a big way. And yeah, you just can't beat the feeling of being in a venue with a great sound system, with amazing music being played, and just the vibe that people gathered in one place can bring. And say it was the same for stand-up, right? Like you can't you have no audience to interact with, or like banter with. If you're doing it over Zoom, it feels very, very strange and very, very, I guess, different. But until such time that we can all get back into live again, I mean, that's the best we can do for now.
I want to ask Ron a question as a parent. In this new day and age, I mean, when I was growing up, even TV was limited, or my use of the Super Nintendo was limited. Like I could only use it for an hour on a Saturday, because otherwise I would have sat there for 6. And as a parent, how much of do you see in the younger generation a reliance on watching things through mobile phones or content creation? And also as a marketeer, how do you stop them from becoming brainwashed by things that they see online? I mean, because they're like, their minds are like sponges. They've taken so much. They're easily educated. How do you feel about the online content in the world today?
I mean, it's how do I put it? It's like, I would say that, my kids are, 9 and 7 or 6, probably 6. They always want the iPad. I mean, it's like, and when they're on the iPad, it's like they're watching, like my youngest daughter, who's 6, is on YouTube, and she's watching YouTube videos about unboxing or toys or like arts and crafts things that are being done, making slime and like hydro dipping and things like that. So it's like she's very actively drawn to that. I don't know, because I kind of go back and forth. Part of me feels that because I think their education is sound, that this is kind of almost the new style of art in some weird ways. But I also think that needs to be, on my side, more regulation of it, I guess you would say. Right. Because like if I don't stop them, to your point, if I allowed them to be on it for 8 hours a day, they would be on it. It's like... Can
I ask you, Ron, do they look at something and then come up to you and go, can we get this? Is a sex channel working on your kids? I mean, are they then seeing it? And are they at an age... One thing I found interesting when I was growing up, and I see it a lot with sneakers and stuff today, is that, hey, he's got it, I got to get it. You know what I mean? So it used to be peer-based purchasing, but now online it's like flooding you with, hey, fit teas. You want to get slim? You drink this tea. Look at me. I used to be 200 pounds. Now you know what I mean?
I would say that there's more influence now digitally than from their peers. And it's funny you mentioned that, because I was even thinking about it, like one of my daughter's friends will get a toy and it doesn't have as much impact as her seeing something on YouTube that someone is unboxing, or someone that she is watching on the channel will have something.
Right.
Then I'll get the daddy, I want this. You know what I mean? So I get that more than if a peer actually gets something.
It's really interesting. That's
actually a really fair point. Like that. It's weird because it's weird you mentioned, because I literally was thinking about it yesterday, because my kids were talking about a fellow friend kid of theirs, and that her bedtime was later. So it's like you get those type of things, but you never get a want based on the friend getting something. You get a want based on seeing it on some sort of digital platform.
Right.
Yeah, it's great. But it's interesting how that also translates to us. I mean, we talk about all of this, and I push these questions to you, but I'm guilty of it. I actually saw, I think it must have been for your daughters, right, Ron? You made some dye sneakers for them recently.
Yeah.
I thought it was damn cool. Like Jared, he got spray paint, he put it in a tub, he got some white sneakers, he put it in, so it had like a cool dye. And that's inspirational, because apart from the fact, I'm a diehard romantic, Jared understands as well. So seeing a family guy interact with his family, is aspirational.
For sure.
But we can also get ideas from online. It's a great place to pick up ideas. And I'm sure, nowadays, if I go to a black tie gala dinner, I don't use a clip-on black tie. I'll go get a bow tie, and then I'll go on YouTube and watch how to do it. Bang, you're away. So it can also be a great resource.
Absolutely.
Well, it's funny that we saw that, the kids saw that on YouTube, and basically it was like brought up time and time again. And then I told the wife, I was like, well, let's pick it up and try to do it. It wasn't as messy as I thought. It actually came out okay. But again, to the kids, it was like meaningful, but also in a sense aspirational. They saw it online, so they wanted to do it. But it was fun. It was fun to do.
Dude, at their age, I was collecting football stickers. I was not looking online at how to dye trainers. They're so much more advanced than I.
For sure. No, I think it's really like I mentioned, it's a great resource, and I think if used right, it's just how do you use these great tools, that this generation is lucky and fortunate enough to be equipped with. Every smartphone now comes with a camera, so the barriers to entry of creating content are so much they're lowered by significantly, and really it's just how it's, again, not just equipping the younger kids or people with tools, but like at the end of the day, like what's the purpose, and why would you how would they use it, and why would you have them on those platforms, and what kind of content are they kind of watching in a sense. So it does put a responsibility then back on the creators, right, and the talent. It's always something that I always ask, like, the talent that we work with, the talent that we speak to. It's like, why are you creating this content, and like what do you hope to inspire in just one viewer, right? That's going to and how is that going to impact them based on whatever you create? I think these are like fundamental questions, right? That every talent, every artist, keeps asking themselves, right? It's like, why am I creating this art? Yeah.
So before we go, because I know it's late for you guys, and I always appreciate the time you guys put in on the other side of the world. Jared, quickly, I have one question to ask you, but first, before I ask you the question, how can we find out more about Gushcloud? How can we find out more about the artists that you're promoting and pushing and putting online?
Absolutely. So we have our main website, www.gushcloud.com. That's our group website. For GC Studios, we have our own website as well. It's www.gcstudios.digital. And we're on all social media platforms. But yeah, the website will really be the main sort of port of call, which covers everything that we do. And if if anyone wants to sort of have any questions with regard to what we do on in the digital space and the social media space, always happy to set up a time. Shoot me an email, jared.kong@gushcloud.com, and I'm always happy to have conversations like this. I think we learn so much from each other, and we learn so much, and I've been learning so much in the last year that I've been here, and I think that's really something that I've really appreciated about living and working in America, and speaking to other colleagues who may be from other firms or other companies within the entertainment space. Everyone's always willing to at least take a conversation and inspire and exchange ideas, and I really appreciate that. Since moving here and working for the company.
Well, you got to tell Russell Simmons, Ron and I want to talk to him on a Sunday, man. That's it.
He's in Bali, and he's living out in Bali, and we speak with him very regularly, almost every other day. But he's a very inspirational man, and has amazing ideas, and just very, very there's a reason why he's the successful entrepreneur that he is. Yeah.
Hey, bro, it's a short flight for me. I can go and sit have coffee with the guys. My last question that I promised you is, so we now set you the task. You got to launch me and Ronn in China, man. We're ready. Our show is ready to go to China.
Right, and so China, just to that point, is its own. It's really its own beast, but a very interesting, ecosystem. Like they have their own. Native social media ecosystem, their own versions of Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and some of them are all wrapped up into one super app. If anything, I think the Chinese are really on another level when it comes to their digital engagements and how many touch points per day like a person would be on the digital space and in different apps. And that's something that that we help our clients navigate. When they come to us and they say, I want to get my content into China, I want to get my content to some of the platforms there. So we essentially facilitate, getting the official channels created, getting content of theirs repurposed. So an interview like this, for example, would be repurposed, translated, in, with subtitle in Mandarin. But not just subtitling. The Chinese have their own sort of palette and way they consume content, and so that requires a little bit of video editing and stuff without obviously changing the authenticity of the content and originality of the content. But most importantly, it's like the opportunities are opening up and have been opening up in China, which makes it a really advantageous time now, I think, to want to engage with that market, and more so given that travel has halted, productions have essentially stopped. Everybody's online now. If we talk about capacity building for the future, now is a great time to really start thinking about being on social media in China, and that's what we help our clients and some of the talents that are based here with their content. So we can have those conversations, Joe and Ron. I mean, China. I'm sure the Chinese want to engage with your content as well.
We're ready, Jared. It's always a sad time because, to be honest, I'm like a technophobe. I think life was a lot more simple when it was face-to-face interaction. I hate going to a cafe and seeing a couple both play with their phones instead of talking. And absolutely. I have to admit, I say this every week. It's not just a punchline. Like, I really love these conversations with Ron. Like, I feel that we click and we bring in people like you and we learn new things and we get new opinions, we get new topics. And we've had some amazing guests. We have P. Diddy's former manager. We had Josie, who is the artistic director for Tatler Asia. We've had you from Gushcloud. So it's a great chance. I hope the world doesn't lose the connectivity of face-to-face conversation because we're social animals.
I completely agree.
Well, look, guys, I really, really, really appreciate your time. It's late for you in Las Vegas. You both have beautiful families to go back to. Thank you. Stay safe. Stay COVID-free. Ron has survived COVID. He's a beast of a man.
Oh, wow.
He's been through it, now the other side. So we're just super blessed that Ron is healthy. And that's a story for another time. But Jared, stay safe. Your wife was hitting the chopping board as we started. And I hope me and Ron are ready for a virtual dinner. What's on the menu?
What's on the menu? I think she's making pasta and roast vegetables, and just looking forward to heading into the weekend, spending some quality time with the missus and with friends. But thank you so much, Joe and Ron, for having me. It was really a pleasure. Love having conversations like this, and most importantly, I love staying connected. With friends and colleagues from all over the world. It was really. I had a really good time. Thank you.
So you the last thing we didn't even touch on is Jared's a very good DJ. He actually DJ'd at the opening of Zouk Genting. So you have a guy this away from you who can spin.
Thank you, Joe, for providing me with the opportunity to to be play on the opening weekend of Zouk Genting. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, my wife and I were just talking about it the other day about how much fun that weekend was. It was really we fond memories of Zouk Genting.
But you'll have to come out for the opening of Vegas.
I will. In fact, I was in Vegas right before this COVID thing happened in February, and I saw the progress, and the development is looking very, very impressive. So definitely looking forward to checking it out when it's all open.
Very big times. Well, thanks, guys. Stay
Thank
safe.
you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.
I want you to.